The air in our house always smelled like two things: Aquanet hairspray and my mom's disappointment. It was 1986. The world outside was a kaleidoscope of neon pink leg warmers and big, ambitious dreams. MTV was our church, and Madonna was our preacher. My bedroom was a shrine to this belief. Posters of The Cure, Simple Minds plastered over the floral wallpaper my parents had picked out. Robert Smith's sad eyes seemed to understand me more than anyone in my own house. I spent hours in there, the door firmly shut, trying to block out the world with the sound of my Walkman. My name is Jamie. I was 16 that year. My hair was a testament to my dedication to the era. Crimped, teased, and held in place with a prayer and that ever-present cloud of hairspray. I lived in a small town where the biggest event of the year was the county fair, and the most exciting thing to do on a Friday night was cruise down Main Street. But in my mind, I was already somewhere else. New York City or maybe London. I was going to be a photographer, capturing the raw, gritty truth of the world. It was a dream I held onto like a lifeline. Our house was small, a simple two-story box with a yard that was always just a little overgrown. Inside, the tension was a permanent resident. My dad had lost his job at the factory a year earlier. He'd spend his days on the living room couch, the television flickering with game shows and soap operas. My mom worked double shifts at the diner, coming home with tired eyes and the smell of grease clinging to her uniform. My best friend was Sera. She was the opposite of me in almost every way. Where I was quiet and observant, she was loud and fearless. We'd spend hours in her room, sprawled out on her shag carpet, listening to the radio. With our fingers hovering over the record button, we'd try to catch our favorite songs. Each tape was a story, a mood, a message sent from one of us to the other. Aha, Tears for Fears, The Smiths. They were the soundtrack to our lives. We'd talk for hours about our future lives, sketching them out in vivid detail. We'd have adjoining apartments in a city that never slept, me with my dark room and her with her dance studio. Those afternoons felt like they would last forever. We were invincible. We'd drive around with the windows down, singing along to the radio at the top of our lungs, feeling the wind in our hair. The static started subtly. His silence grew heavier, more suffocating. He stopped watching game shows and just stared at the blank screen. Arguments became more frequent, hushed and angry behind the closed bedroom door. I'd lie in bed, pressing my pillow over my ears, but their fractured voices found a way in. The disappointment once scented the air. Now it smelled bitter and acrid, like something burning. Money was the ghost that haunted our house. At school, I found it harder to concentrate, and the teacher's voice would drone on while my mind replayed the morning's argument. I started carrying my camera everywhere, using the viewfinder as a shield. I photographed cracked pavement. I photographed peeling paint. Photographed lonely figures walking down the street. My art reflected the sadness I tried to hide. Sera tried to pull me out of it. She'd show up at my locker with a new mixtape, decorated with neon pens and glitter. She dragged me to the arcade. Pac-Man, Donkey Kong. Her laughter echoed over the machines. I felt distance growing between us. Fashion was another form of armor. I started wearing more black. Black jeans, black boots, black oversized sweaters. I'd spend more time on my makeup, drawing thick, dark lines around my eyes. She'd pull me onto the makeshift dance floor at a school sock hop, trying to get me to move to Wham and Duran Duran. Just dance it. Dance it out, Jamie. You can't be sad when you're dancing. For a few minutes, under the spinning disco ball, I'd let myself go. It was a temporary reprieve, fleeting moment of light. But the darkness always crept back in. We'd go to the mall, and I'd find myself just watching people, a detached observer. While Sarah would be trying on brightly colored tops, I'd be focusing on the lonely-looking people. I was using my art to hide, not to connect. The mall, the music, the fashion, they were bright, colorful band-aids I was placing over a wound that was getting deeper and more infected with each passing day. The collapse didn't happen all at once. It started with my camera. My dad, in a fit of anger, fueled by a rejection letter, knocked it off my desk. The camera fell, plastic cracking, the lens shattering on the floor. He stared at the broken pieces, regret replacing anger. He mumbled an apology and shuffled out. I stared at the wreckage of my most prized possession. That broken camera symbolized something more. My dream felt shattered along with it. How could I be a photographer without a camera? I tried to explain it to Sera, but the words got stuck. She saw my despair and tried to fix it. Bake sales, car washes, anything to raise money. Her optimism, once a source of comfort, now felt like an accusation. Our conversation became strained, long, awkward pauses. The final tremor came during a phone call. Sarah called excited. She had been accepted into the summer dance program, the one in the city, the one we had talked about for months. It was her dream coming true. The first step toward the future we planned. I should have been happy. I should have screamed with joy and celebrated with her, but I felt a cold, heavy wave of jealousy and abandonment. Isn't it amazing, Jamie? Her voice, pure, unadulterated joy. I couldn't answer. I held the phone. The silence stretched between us. Jamie, are you there? I have to go, I whispered, and I hung up the phone. I cut the line. I didn't just hang up on her. I hung up on our friendship. I hung up on our shared future. I hung up on the last bit of light I had. The dial tone was the loneliest sound I had ever heard. It was the sound of the final fade out. Today is September 18th, 2025. Nearly 40 years have passed since that fall. I never became a famous photographer. I never made it to New York. I stayed in my hometown, a place I once swore I would escape. I work a quiet office job. I have a life that is simple and stable. The crimped hair and leg warmers are long gone, replaced by something more sensible, more muted. I never fixed that camera. But a few years later, I bought a new one, a simple point and shoot. I don't take pictures of gritty city streets. I take pictures of my kids. I take pictures of sunsets over the same familiar horizon. I find the beauty not in the shadows, but in the ordinary light of everyday life. The dream didn't die completely, it just changed. It became smaller, quieter, more real. I learned that you don't have to be in a big city to find stories worth capturing. They are all around you, if you just take the time to look. I see Sarah sometimes. We live in the same town, a twist of fate I never would have predicted. She married her high school sweetheart. She runs a small dance studio for kids downtown. Her hair is still a magnificent, untamable cloud, though now it's flecked with silver. We exchange polite smiles at the grocery store, a brief, awkward nod of acknowledgement. There is an entire ocean of unspoken words between us, a history that is too heavy to cross. I see the flicker of the girl I knew in her eyes, and I wonder if she sees the same in mine. The regret is a dull ache, a ghost that never quite leaves. The tragedy of 1986 wasn't the broken camera, the lost job. The tragedy was a friendship I broke out of fear and jealousy. It was a lesson I learned too late, that dreams are fragile, but friendships are even more so. They need to be tended to, protected, and fought for. I lost a part of myself when I hung up that phone. And I've spent a lifetime learning to live with the empty space she left behind. The music of that era still plays on classic rock radio, and every time I hear a song from one of our old mixtapes, I'm 16 again for just a moment. And I remember that hope, even when it's lost, leaves an